How was that match with Martina?
まあ楽しかった。It was very fun. But Martina's vagina not good smell. Yes. So ちょっと sick. I never try vagina smell. No, never.
Oh,
Understand?
yes.
Oh.
I think so.
Yeah, be careful.
Oh. So what, if you could say anything to Martina, what would you say to her?
Martina, vagina, wash. More wash, okay?
Press play. Where's the magic finger? Pressing down. Yeah.
The Wrestling Club with Darren and Brett. We've got a show that you'll never forget.
Greetings, Grapple fans, and welcome once again to WFMU's Wrestling Club, the only space that's safe for all wrestling fans, whether you're casual, lapsed, obsessed, or ashamed. My name's Darren. Maybe I'm broadcasting from the humble McGinley Square district of Jersey City, but I'm not alone. I'm joined via satellite from Hollywood, California, by the Kenta Kobashi to my Johnny Ace, Mr. Brett Davis. Brett, we're going to get weird in Japan tonight.
Oh, yeah, and we're not alone. We got a special guest with us. She is a writer. She writes for Fan Fight, which is part of Fan Bite Media, and you've seen all sorts of writing everywhere else. And I'm a big fan. I'm happy to have you. Emily Pratt, welcome to the Wrestling Club. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for inviting me, you guys.
Yeah, you're in Los Angeles.
Yes, I am in Los Angeles.
Which is different for me because I'm in Hollywood.
What's the difference between that? You know, I mean, I'm in Jersey City. I don't really get out to your fancy little state too much.
It's really just a state of mind.
Yeah, I think the air smells like a little bit better in Hollywood.
It definitely smells better than Jersey City. I'll tell you that much. But I like the smell here. You know, it's a familiar stink.
For my gimmick, I'd say at least Hollywood Boulevard smells worse than Jersey City.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still love Hollywood. That is my home, my gimmick home. I'm billed from Hollywood.
We don't want to break kayfabe. Tell the folks where you really are.
Emily, we like to start out with this question for our guests. What was your first morsel of pro wrestling that made you a fan?
Oh man, I think I just happened to see an episode of SmackDown at a friend's house, after soccer practice way back in childhood days. And I remember thinking Rey Mysterio was very cool, which I still think to this day. So that was my wrestling.
You are an expert on Japanese wrestling, among other things. And today we're going to be talking about, I'd like to call it Weird in Japan, Volume 1. Darren is also a big Japanese wrestling fan. I'm a fan, but my experience is a bit limited. I don't know everything there is to know. So you two will be my guides into showing me some of the weirder corners of Japanese wrestling. But first, we're going to do a little news. So Darren, it's been a busy news week in the world of wrestling.
We'll start off with a rest in peace to Pat Patterson, who, for generations of wrestling fans was either a great wrestler or a weird side character. But yeah, he passed away this week at the age of 79 from what one report I read was liver cancer. He was Vince McMahon's best friend, which makes me think he was probably a weird guy.
Yeah, there's been some accusations of him being a real weird guy, but also, he's a trailblazer in a lot of ways. Created the Royal Rumble, and so it's sad to see him go. Sami Zayn had a fun tweet about him when he won the NXT title. He rushed out to celebrate.
I remember that. He was wearing a full tuxedo.
That's how those old timers operated.
Also, former 24/7 champion.
Yeah, first Intercontinental champion, winning the title in Rio de Janeiro. Again, I won't break kayfabe here. Emily, any thoughts on Pat Patterson?
Oh, not really that you guys didn't say, but I think the tributes coming out about him have been very moving to read. He's definitely, a lot of people credit him with doing a lot for their careers, including the Rock always speaks very highly of Pat Patterson. So yeah, it is kind of hard to know what certain things about his personal life and how he treated people in the business, because of people can kind of get away with anything, but also old wrestlers are very homophobic a lot of the time. So it's his legacy is very cloudy in that way, where it's I don't know if we're ever going to find out the truth, the real Pat Patterson, which I guess is true for all wrestlers or wrestling people. But yeah, he's a real kind of secret titan of the industry passed on.
Yeah, a lot of incongruous accusations were made in the early 90s that it's you got to address those before you celebrate the guy. But, so many people speak highly of him. And he is also Vince McMahon's best friend, which is maybe the worst thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, what are they Pat Patterson's just sitting there smoking cigarettes, making horrific jokes. I mean, there's no doubt that Pat Patterson definitely, some of the things he said, I'm sure would qualify as, serial harassment. But, yeah, thinking about hanging out with little Stephanie, I don't know. The McMahon family, weird people.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite Pat Patterson moments? I have one, and it was a subtle moment. I don't even know why he was there, but it was the wedding of Teddy Long to Crystal Marshall. Bruce was the Reverend.
I said I love you. I said I love you. We might as well do. Wave your hand in the air. Everybody wave your hand in the air. Anyone here does not want Theodore and Crystal to join in holy matrimony? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Well, then. Oh, my!
And the Godfather and his entourage interrupted to whisk literally the entire wedding party, or at least all the men, away. The only person that politely stayed was Pat Patterson, who forced Gerald Briscoe to sit with him, even though he wanted to run out. I thought that was a nice little character moment. 10 years after that Patterson and Briscoe thing even was relevant anymore. But
Speaking
I like that they were friends.
Speaking of decades of possible irrelevance, Winter is Coming was last night on AEW, and it featured the return of the icon Sting.
Yes, the 60-year-old Sting.
Who, what's so funny, Winter is Coming, big show last night. I really enjoyed it. Great main event. Kenny Omega taking the AEW title to Impact.
If this ended up with him hanging out in Impact all the time, that would be incredible. That would be very exciting to me.
Yeah, what's your take on Impact? Because they're gonna have a lot of eyes on them this week for the first time in a few years. Are you an Impact fan?
I'm a very casual Impact fan, where it's I kind of watch them I watch a lot of promotions, where it's if there's something that seems interesting to me, then I will check it out. They're a good source for good women's wrestling that's filmed well, also, because it's people you can see on the indies, but a lot of times with lower production value. So that's that's kind of like I enjoyed the Wrestle House thing they did earlier this year where it was like all the mid card was in like a magical reality show. I thought that was like legitimately very good.
Yeah, what was that? Give me a little more insight onto that.
It was like, so Rosemary, who is a demon, was
Best demon nominee for our Brawloween special.
Oh, nice. Very deserved. So she was in love with Johnny Bravo, referee / side character guy, and he had been like Taya Valkyrie's manager, and they were in like Taya's house, and anyway, it turned into like Rosemary out of house into like a alternate dimension that worked like a reality show, and like all these other Impact wrestlers got sucked in, and it was like really she was just trying to get alone time with Johnny, but it was also like everybody solved all their like reality show type problems through matches in like the yard. And like Tommy Dreamer was the manager, and he'd like pop in and be like match time, and it was like pretty good.
Match time!
It was good.
I mean, as far as like making the best out of pandemic wrestling,
Yeah,
I like that. But
yeah,
my biggest gripe with Impact, and I think the Knockouts division is, the second best like major division, like better than AEW really, but there's like a lot of dimensions and a lot of James Mitchell.
yes. There's a lot where it's like I have no interest in like what they're doing at all, like in the rest of. But that's why like I am a casual Impact viewer because there's so much.
Yeah, I'm
Are you looking at the roster too? First, when you said Johnny Bravo, in my head, I just heard Johnny Swinger.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then now I'm looking at the Impact roster, and Johnny Swinger is in Impact too.
Oh,
so
yes,
like,
he is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, there's good people in Impact, but it's like
Yeah.
everybody's just a little weird looking, which is good, but like strange. Like their Kenny Omega is Rich Swann. Like,
yeah,
just there's a slight disconnect. So maybe some of the AEW shine will rub off on them. I don't know, but I'm excited to see what happens. And I was feeling like a real fan after watching Winter is Coming last night. Speaking of fans, lifelong wrestling fan, Jeff Hardy. He defeated Elias this Monday in a hard-hitting Symphony of Destruction match, landing his head on the steel steps after jumping off a ladder. I think this is a perfect opportunity to bring in his gimmick from when he was a young teenager running his backyard wrestling promotion, Omega, Willow the Wisp. Are you familiar with Willow?
Yes, yeah, and I agree. He needs to like anytime he could bring back Willow at this point in his career. I think that he should do it.
Yeah, Darren, you're very good at summarizing wrestlers from your what I'm guessing is foggy memory. Describe Willow for the non-fan.
Willow is a butterfly, but also it's Mary Poppins. Also is like a goth cabaret type, I think. But that's only the look. The promo is just, well, depends. Teenage Jeff Hardy, it's just teenage Jeff Hardy.
Welcome to Willow the Wisp! Get with it! It's anything!
But then Impact Willow, I guess Willow is in Impact at some point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's just...
Hi, Omega followers. It is I, Willow the Wisp. As you know before, I've informed you that we love, that we hate, that we die forever late. In Willow's way, although and therefore, today in modern time will lead to tomorrow, which eventually creates eternity. Omega always has an eternal position in my black heart. I'm up again, and I'm watching forever.
You know, what Jeff Hardy thinks being a crazy actor is, you know, like it's not great.
I mean,
But
you know, we love Lanny Poffo here. We love the poets. Willow does speak sort of in poetry, but more like he speaks in riddle. And I'm not talking about Matt Riddle. He speaks, you know, sort of like a David Lynch. That's too nice to say. Here's a quote.
It's like straight to DVD David Lynch.
Yeah, I'll do my best, Willow. We love, we hate, we die forever late. That's his catchphrase.
I say bring Willow into NXT. You know, get him off the main roster. Let's send him back down.
Well, according to BT Sport, who interviewed Jeff Hardy, he said, Willow is my go-to wrestling persona. So, man, that's another dream of mine I'd like to do before I'm done. To bring Willow into the WWE universe and see what happens. I just have a strange feeling that something crazy cool could happen between Willow and The Fiend.
How is it his go-to? He's not used it enough. Like, oh my God. But I buy that is like what he always wants to be doing, like all the time, actually. So
right.
Yeah.
If he has a choice in the creative, his creative, future, it's gonna be Willow. But imagine Jeff Hardy sitting in, Titan Tower explaining Willow to Vince McMahon. It's not gonna go well.
I was watching a clip of, it was like an Omega show in like a small like gymnasium, lots of little kids all there cheering on Matt Hardy and the Hurricane, and then the heels are beating them down, and in to make the save, it could have been Jeff Hardy, and it could have made all those kids' nights, but instead it was this like weird, like mime.
Yeah, Umbrella Man. All you see over the audience's heads is just an umbrella coming through the crowd.
Yeah,
I'm saying if we just brought Bret Hart in as the Genie.
There we go. I was trying to figure out what Bret Hart's version of Willow is. Yeah, it's the Genie from his Calgary adaptation of Aladdin.
Your wish is my command. I am the genie of the lamp. Say it with me. Genie, genie, genie.
I think it's time we get into this Japanese stuff. I'm going to be your student. So please teach me.
Well, I say we start with a big show and tell.
Well, it's the big show.
And tell.
Or, because it's weird in Japan, maybe it should be the show and yo and tell.
And tell.
All right. That's great. It took us hours to make those. We are sound designers at Wrestling Club. Boy, there's a lot of, well, Brett, you're our student, and I believe in a student first centric learning style. So what do you want to know? What do you want to learn?
Well, I know a little bit about I follow New Japan somewhat, definitely the big shows. I know a little bit about like the history, your Inokis, your Babas, your Jumbo Tsurutas. I love Joshi, but am not an expert on the current scene. So these are my tent poles, and let's fill this tent with some knowledge.
Well, I guess we'll start. You know what? Let's start with Jumbo, my personal favorite. Not the most colorful, not the most charismatic, kind of plain. But you know what? When Jumbo throws that one arm in the air to celebrate, I love it. But, Jumbo also has a more comedic side that maybe some fans of his aren't necessarily aware of.
Well, let's say I'm totally unaware of Jumbo Tsuruta, how would you describe him?
He was what's a good example? He's like, I think of him as like a Jack Briscoe type, but a Japanese version, kind of. He was an Olympic wrestler. He was a good guy. He was plain. He was a good wrestler.
Boring.
Yeah, a little. Well, not colorful. Not all sizzle. Emily, would you have any thoughts on Jumbo? Are you
I don't think he was boring. He was good. I mean, he was in All Japan, so he was like, I don't know, he was like very All Japan, where he was like, had the like, he was very like dad looking and owned it and just like got to hit people really hard. So it's like a fun time, but it's like, it is more plain than a lot of other. He is like a Trunks guy, and his pose is like lifting up his arm. So in that way, he is plain. However, his name is Jumbo Tsuruta, so that kind of carries a lot.
That does carry a lot for me.
Also trained by wrestling club member Terry Funk. I think people forget that, like, he's of the 70s and 80s Japanese wrestlers, I think he's the most adapted to the American style. Like, Inoki didn't sell. His matches with American guys aren't really, well, they're kind of interesting, but they're not great. But Jumbo had great matches with the Funks and Bruiser Brody and Ric Flair. So I think his style is very adaptable to American audiences, his wrestling style, but his persona can be a little hard to I know he's just not very colorful. But
yeah, I need a little sizzle.
Well, here's a little sizzle for you. It's from a New Year's television show, which I'm not sure exactly what it's called. The translation is Program Opposition Hidden Art Competition, which was a special New Year's program, kind of like a talent show, I guess. Like, you're showing your hidden talent. Mm-hmm. And All Japan in 1983 decided their hidden talent was performing a musical version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, starring Jumbo Tsuruta, the ace of the promotion, as Snow White, with appearances by Giant Baba. There's a young Atsushi Onita who plays Prince Charming.
So is like Giant Baba the is Giant Baba the Shelley Duvall of this? Is he like frequently presenting fairy tales?
They really went for it with the makeup and stuff. They're all like really that makes it harder to tell who they are.
Yeah, compare this to like Firefly Funhouse. This is like
Jumbo
way
is really,
more effort.
Jumbo just really dedicates himself to this role as he's skipping around this tree man.
His work rate in Fairy Tale.
I don't know. It looks like the stuff they would do on variety shows, but you like...
Yeah. Queen just transformed into Giant Baba, and now she's ugly? I don't remember. I don't know how this is.
So the Queen puts a...
Oh, no. Now there's Onita as Prince Charming. He's being attacked by... Oh, he's being forced to kiss Jumbo. Oh, they kissed. And Jumbo woke Jumbo right up. Everyone's celebrating. And it ends with a shot of Giant Baba in a sea of apples. Wow. Yeah. But once again, the All Japan wrestlers are back trying to win the top prize. And this year, 1986, they do their version of Super Mario Brothers. Oh, I don't know about this one.
Do you know the Twilight Zone episode where somebody gets turned into a toy and all the toys talk to each other and they realize that this is just some weird hell that they're in?
Yes. Yeah, that is exactly what this looks like, except they could climb out of the box.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that they couldn't climb. Is it okay? I thought one of those was an iron, but it was a car.
There's Baba. You know, Baba, very funny. Giant
so now
Baba,
we've got
hilarious.
a Gulliver's Travels thing going on.
Yeah.
Where Giant Baba is a giant compared to the toy-sized, and now they're all dancing.
This is so much weirder and more elaborate than I expected, even after the Snow White.
And
Meat. Is that just meat?
there's Giant Baba who, when we're in the close-up, it just looks like he's cosplaying Thomas Jefferson, which
It
is
does.
Or he looks like an old librarian.
yes, that too.
Uh-huh.
Pretty great, I guess. I'm glad that they did that. I respect it. I feel like this, like the vibe I got from Baba compared to everybody else made me think that it was his idea.
Yeah,
That's my
Baba seemed like a little too comfortable in like the short pants. And
I mean, Baba was basically a comedy wrestler for the last 20 years of his life. So it makes sense, you know? I mean, compare Baba to Inoki, though. And, you know, you see there's a lot of differences. Emily, how would you compare Antonio Inoki to Giant Baba if somebody doesn't know anything about Japanese wrestling?
Oh man, there's so many differences, but it's kind of like, I mean, they originally worked together and then split to start different companies. I don't know, Baba's kind of like a kindlier figure, like as a real person and as a personality, because he's like a giant, and his matches look less violent and less like real fighting versus like Inoki is very judo influenced and a more like serious. You can kind of take him more seriously as like the top like hero or protagonist of his promotion, and he ended his career as kind of like an extremely badass like old man, and Baba was like just being more comedic. So it's like there's so much they're so different.
Yeah,
I think Baba didn't have as many close relationships with murderous dictators either.
Yeah, oh yeah, and like he is weirdly like if you combined like Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan into the same person, with his like being the top star and also his political aspirations.
Yeah.
I guess that's like, the McMahon family generally, but with his like using his one title like that he had actually from the WWF, like the martial arts title, in order to promote when he was running for Senate the first time, because he did like a very kind of nationalistic but also like international friendship angle with a guy from the Soviet Union. And then he got kicked out of the Senate because he would not stop going to North Korea. And they were like, please stop. And he's like, absolutely not. I need to continue to go to North Korea like all the time.
Yeah, Vince McMahon, it only took him like recently to start buddying up to dictators and bad regimes. But Inoki was doing it back in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, he was his original, I think the first party he was in was called like the Sports and Peace Party. So he was like very into like, let's form relationships through sports. But it's also like, why did you, I don't know. I mean, the answer to why did you keep going to North Korea might just be like, oh, I can capture the territory. Nobody else is doing it. I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, Sports and Peace Party is, it should be said, extreme far right in Japan.
Yeah.
So, like, not good, not great.
Well, he hasn't been in it in a long time. He was in it a very long time. Now he ended his career as an independent. So his political beliefs are hard to actually like track down what they are, because he's been part of. So I mean, because of translation issues. And because of him being part of so many weird independent parties. And one time I actually asked somebody who I was talking to about wrestling who was from Japan. I was like, what actually what would you say summed up like Inoki as a politician? And he was like, oh, I have no idea. I just like knew that he was the wrestler who was a senator. So it's like, okay.
That makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like Eddie. What are you gonna say, Brett?
Yeah, if you, let's say the three of us got on a plane and went to Tokyo, and right in the middle of town square or whatever, we see a line, and at the end of the line is Inoki slapping people. As I guess the thing was Inoki slapped a student, and he took it as a sign of respect, and then that started a trend of people asking to be slapped by Inoki. Which to me is maybe one of the more annoying things you'd ask a celebrity to do. But would you get on the Inoki slap line?
Oh, for sure. Of course. Of course.
Definitely.
No,
Especially,
no second thoughts.
you know, I mean, Inoki, he'll hit you. It'll be a shoot.
Yeah. It's like the germs burn of wrestling fans.
Personally, though, I would rather be on the small Antonio Inoki slap line.
Yes. Okay. He looks like Antonio Inoki, but wearing like a worse robe, and he really is like just a smaller man.
You got the Antonio Inoki costume from like the Halloween store.
It's not like a mini Vader, mini Mankind situation where it's a little person portraying a wrestler. This guy is just like a petite Antonio Inoki. Like he's like 5'2", probably like 130 pounds, but he has the hair, the jawline, the eyes.
Yeah, and he has like also a very angular face, but in a different way than the real Inoki. And yeah, he's going for it.
It's kind of like that thing when someone's like, "Oh, you know who you look like Steve Buscemi," and it's like, no, like you just have like a weird face.
Yeah.
His opponent.
Somebody's thrown him a bag of Kit Kats. I guess he endorsed the Kit Kats.
He's gonna be wrestling a large man, Takayama. How big was Takayama? What did you say? 6'6"? He steps over
Yeah,
the
I
rest.
say he was like 6'6" or 6'5".
Yeah, like, you know, famous for his fight against Don Fry, where they punched each other as hard as humanly possible in the face, disfiguring Takayama to a point. He looks not great. I mean, now he's physically very bad health.
Okay, now without the robe, you can tell small Antonio Inoki is like very small, and like just
he's running. Can you describe that his style of running the ropes?
He's like leaping. He's like a Peter Pan guy, like going back and forth against the ropes.
This kind of looks like Antonio Inoki versus Andre the Giant.
I don't think Inoki Andre had a high five spot though. Here's what I like about small Antonio Inoki is that he does, like, he's not a joke. It's not like Marco Stunt in there where he's like, you know, a little kid. He's got all the pride of Antonio Inoki and like the confidence of him. It's just he is outmatched by this gigantic human being.
This is a really good spot.
Yeah, this is like a Charlie Chaplin spot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so we talked about Giant Bob. We talked about Antonio Inoki, you know, the history of Japanese wrestling. What about stuff that's more current? Brett, you know, do you follow like Stardom at all?
First, yeah, I follow it a little bit. Like many, I'm a big fan of. I know she's not in Stardom, but Maki Itoh's online presence. Emily, is there any insight you could give to the Maki Itoh story?
Oh, I don't know. It's just really, it's very good. She's a failed. In real life, she's a real idol, but in her character is a failed idol who is in like massive debt from plastic surgery on her face. And she became a wrestler, and she like sucked at that, and she sucked at it in a very undignified way, where she like swore and cried all the time. And then she did kind of get actually good, and she's like very funny and very does not speak very much English, but like a master of English language swearing, and headbutts people and is tiny and adorable. So her appeal is just like universal in that way.
Like every now and then she'll tweet like fuck off dickhead or something with like a very cute selfie.
Yes.
I kill you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Now what about Brett was talking about Maki Itoh, but I confused her with Tam Nakano. They have the same gimmick? Tam Nakano from Stardom, where she's like the world's cutest wrestler. Do you know who I mean?
I know, but like Tam is not really like Maki Itoh is like she is cute, obviously, but it's like a joke that she's like yelling like "Tell me I'm cute," but like Tam Nakano just like is very very cute and is more just like that. And her now she has a faction that's kind of like an idol faction, but it's not really a joke the same way Maki Itoh.
Yeah, Maki Itoh is like a brat.
Yeah.
I saw some. So what's the DDT spin-off Joshi League?
Oh, Tokyo Joshi Pro.
Yeah, I was watching a clip of a match. I didn't know all the participants besides Yuka Sakazaki, the magical genie, but they were all running top speed, running the ropes. 4 people, like missing each other by a second, and then they all connect at once and fall together, and then Maki Itoh runs in like just like a thief trying to steal the pin. I don't know. I'm a big fan, but I'm still a little in the dark. Darren, do you have any suggestions on Joshi wrestlers I might like, or Emily?
Well,
keep in mind, I like the sizzle more than the steak, to be honest. So.
Well, one of my quarantine goals was to try to get more into Stardom. I got Stardom World. I try to watch some shows. I haven't been keeping up as much as I should. I have to catch up now because they're going to have this big Budokan show. Is that in January, I think, right? Their big
I think
Budokan.
It's in December, yeah.
December. So
but
I watched
like a big deal for them because they've never, besides for like cameos on other shows, they've never like had a show in a venue like this before.
Yeah, this is like their biggest show ever. Right? I think it's their anniversary too. So it's a pretty big deal.
I definitely think Stardom, I mean, this is everybody says it, right? I mean, Stardom is really easy to get into, I think, if you're not maybe that well versed in Joshi wrestling. Like everything's subtitled on Stardom World, which is great. The shows are pretty short. The matches aren't that long. There's promos before every match that kind of tells you what's going on. There's the different factions. It's pretty interesting. But I think Brett, I'm excited to show you from Stardom. And she just changed her gimmick, but I'm going to show you her old gimmick. This is Death Yama-San.
Okay. So it looks like a child's idea of like a death metal. Okay. So yeah, she rocks. She throws up the devil horns, sticks her tongue out, and rolls her eyes back.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, great. Just hanging on the ropes, throwing up the devil. You are right. I really like.
Yeah, but she just hangs like a bat and waits for her opponent to come out.
Oh, cool.
So she just yells death and specifically goes death. Like a spitting goblin.
You know, in a year where Evil was a world champion, you know, it's not too crazy. If anybody is a fan of comedy, specifically LA comedy, or has seen the Netflix show Nate, which just premiered this week, she reminds me a little bit of Natalie Palamides as Nate. Just like guttural, but like high-pitched screams and oversized clothing. And it looks like she's worse for wear.
So now she looks like she knocked her out with that chop to the neck. That's Julia. She's wrestling Julia in the 5-star Grand Prix, which is the Stardom's round robin yearly tournament, similar to the G1 Climax.
Oh.
Every transition just ends with the devil horns.
Now she's like, the makeup is the same except the stuff around the eyes is pink, and she's in a full clown costume, and she's like very happy now, and it is unintentionally, like so much creepier than what she was doing before. And she was like a tag team with Riho recently, and it was like I don't know that much about her evolution because I was just like, this image, I don't like it in my eyes. Get this away from me.
Yeah.
She went from Juggalo to Doink, kind of. Like that's kind of the spectrum of wrestling clown. I think she's evolved towards.
Yeah. In our Brawloween episode, we did a very deep dive on the various wrestling clowns. We didn't even get to all of them. So it's nice to have another.
We overlooked Death Yama-San without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Emily, do you have any interesting sort of corners of Japanese wrestling that, again, for me, I like the sizzle, not the steak. Anything that might suit me?
Well, if you like weird stuff, I feel like one of the most reliable destinations for weird stuff in Japanese wrestling for many years is DDT, and especially the DDT Extreme title, which is like, it's basically a title where you win it and you have to come up with like very weird stipulations for matches. Like a really good one recently, blindfold hidden bra death match, where it was like it was two men fighting for this title, Shinya Aoki, real MMA fighter Shinya Aoki versus Harashima, and they had to fight. You had to win, like you were blindfolded in like a giant no people arena, and then they were both wearing bras, and they had to remove their opponent's bra while blindfolded in order to win, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Wow.
And
I do like that because it's hard enough with the blindfold.
Yeah.
I know from that episode of Happy Days. That's my only experience with it, where Fonzie quickly snaps it off. But yeah, and this is different than the Iron Man title that is like the 24/7 title, but crazier, right?
Yeah, the Iron Man title is weird because it started out like DDT has a lot of stuff that's like parodying. Well, initially like Attitude Era WWF, it was parodying, so it was a parody of the Hardcore Championship, except they took it up to like 15. They just got way weirder with it, and they did defenses on YouTube and stuff. And then like when WWE did the 24/7 title, it ended up being like more similar to the Iron Man Heavy Metal title. So that was a weird evolution there. But the current guy who has the title is Sanshiro Takagi, who won it in a weapons rumble where he incapacitated his opponent by revealing that he had once like asked a woman to go to a love hotel with him on Instagram, and she just blocked him. And this was in like a huge venue, and the reveal just killed his opponent, and he had to be taken out on a stretcher, and that's like why Sanshiro Takagi is the champion now.
Wow. So the reveal of his attempted flirting, I guess.
Yes.
Incapacitated the other opponent.
Yeah.
It better not. Lars Sullivan would kill in DDT.
Yeah. Yeah. Would. It was like the finish.
Oh, did we lose you?
That was the death blow.
Well, sorry, could you repeat that? We lost you for a second.
The finish of the match was like they were playing videos of people like revealing things about the other person, and that was the death blow. He had already been weakened, and then it was like, oh yeah, I just blocked him. And
wow.
Rip. Yeah.
I'm watching some DDT Extreme right now. Emily sent me a clip.
So the current
sauna
champion,
match.
Yeah, the current champion is Sanshiro Takagi, and he has kind of committed to doing everything street wrestling style, so just like wrestling outside in weird locations, and also streaming them all on YouTube. So his first defense was in a sauna, and we are looking at a clip of it right now.
Yeah, so I see.
Right now he's sticking the scrubby brush on his on his lower back. Oh, that's painful. That does hurt. I've had to scrub my back many times. He's got
it hurts.
Fresh water. Oh, no, what is that? I don't know.
Seems like he's he's cleaning his behind.
Yeah. DDT has like a lot of butt-based spots. They that's really like a go-to for them.
I love a spot. I do.
I describe to somebody that hasn't seen DDT, like imagine you stumbled on like really weird porn, but then make it like PG-13. It's like often weirdly sexual, but it's like not about the sex. It's just like
I think it's a little bit like Jackass in a way. Where
it's
like
a little
Jackass
bit like Jackass.
You know, like Jackass isn't. It has sex in it, but it's not like sexual.
Yeah. Oh wow! He just slip and slid. There was some
like
human bowling.
Yeah, we did some bowling. And now they're throwing little sauna chairs at this poor man. That's what it is.
Well, speaking of weird wrestling, to transition into a new segment and our final segment of the show, we've been doing an event every week with our guests. It is called the Worst Royal Rumble. We were talking about Vince and the Saudis earlier, and they did the Greatest Royal Rumble for the Prince MBS. So we are doing our own version. This takes place in the Jeddah Thunderdome. So the only people that are allowed to watch live are the Princes, and then everybody else can Skype in. And we've been having every guest pick an entrant. It doesn't necessarily need to be from the world of wrestling, although that helps. And you know, you not only get to pick the entrant, you also get to pick what happens when they come in. Just to recap, we've had Leonardo da Vinci, who has the Mona Lisa, which was picked by the Voros twins, Da Vinci, I guess they called him. We have MGK, Machine Gun Killa, which is picked by Chris Kubas. Sally Burtnick picked Ross Geller, not David Schwimmer, but specifically Ross Geller, who is holding Lucy, the Australopithecus. So now we have two of the most valuable things in the world at ringside for use as weapons. And then also on the tarmac of this arena, we have being held by Saudi royal forces, Improv Guru Del Close, which was picked by DC Pearson, Effie, who was picked by Effie, and Glamour Girl Judy Martin, who was picked by Darren. They are all being held hostage. However, they've not been eliminated from this match. So just to recap, we have Leonardo da Vinci, MGK, and Ross Geller in the ring. Alessandro Mussolini and Paula Poundstone have been eliminated. So, Emily, if you followed any of that, who will be your entrant to the worst Royal Rumble?
Okay. What is... Okay.
I hope the question is not, what is this?
Not what is this? It's... Okay. What is that? Okay, what's that Bruce Willis movie where he's a cat burglar and he sings in it? Okay, this is real. I have to find...
Oh my goodness. All right, I'm looking too. Bruce Willis, cat burglar song.
I mean, the real Bruce Willis sings and plays harmonica, if that helps.
Let's see. Is it Hudson Hawk?
Yes. Okay. He would enter. Bruce Willis as Hudson Hawk will enter because he is a
Hudson Hawk is the
burglar.
most NXT sounding name I've ever heard.
Yeah, everybody will think it's an NXT recruit. They're like, finally a real wrestler, and then it is, what year did this come out? 1991. Bruce Willis, and he tries to steal the dinosaur skull and the Mona Lisa.
It looks like Hudson Hawk. I'm reading IMDb. A cat burglar is forced to steal Da Vinci's works of art for a world domination plot. So I guess
this
we're
is like an extension
of that universe.
Okay, so you said he tries to steal Lucy the Australopithecus and the Mona Lisa. Is he successful? And does he enter the ring?
I think he does enter the ring to attempt to steal. Wait, are they in the ring?
We've got MGK, Machine Gun Killer, Da Vinci, and Ross Geller. They're all fighting. Hudson Hawk runs in.
I think he'll have to try to fight them in the ring. Oh, he ends up getting in some kind of musical battle with Machine Gun Kelly instead. He's distracted, and I guess like Da Vinci and Ross Geller are fighting each other while this is going on.
Okay, so there's no eliminations.
No eliminations. Hudson Hawk is still in the game, in my opinion.
Now, just for future bookers of this batch, if it comes down to it, would Hudson Hawk risk an elimination to steal Mona Lisa or Lucy?
I think he would. I think his main goal is cat burglary. So.
Okay, well, this is exciting. We still have these three people on the tarmac. Darren has teased a Kofi spot from Judy Martin. I still have yet to pick an entrant, so this is heating up. We've had 2 eliminations already, so the ring is filling up, and it's up to our next guest, who's going to be Rob Pespani from Metal Injection, who will get to pick our guest or our entrant next week. And next week we're also going to be talking about Big Dave Meltzer. It's a special episode dedicated to
and a little teaser. I have Dave Meltzer's fax number.
Yes,
just saying.
Oh, that's
next
exciting.
week, a lot of wild things could happen next week.
Yeah,
dial it up.
Hit us up on Instagram at Wrestling Club WFMU or on Twitter at Wrestling_Club_. Tell us what you want us to fax Dave Meltzer, and we'll see if you get it. So, Emily, where can we find more of your writing?
You can find most of my writing currently on FanBite, the FanBite wrestling section, FanFight. So fanbyte.com/wrestling. That's where you can find me. And I promote all my work on Twitter at Emily of Pratt on Twitter.
Wonderful. And Darren, you got a WFMU show this Saturday?
Absolutely. If you can't sleep, if you got some indigestion, you got some worries on your mind, troubles on your mind, I'll be up all night, Saturday and Sunday, 3 to 6 a.m., playing all the hits as always. And Brett, what do you got coming up, Brett? What do you got? What's on the docket for you?
You know, funny story. 2020 made comedy irrelevant. So I guess just stay tuned for maybe Instagram stories I'll post or something of like the cats that live outside my house. That's my only real plug. I would have been able to plug a tour and stuff, but you know, such is life. But I can plug the Twitter, the Instagram. Please follow us. Please subscribe to the show. Thank you for listening. And Darren, take us out.
All right, for Brett and Emily, this is WFMU's Wrestling Club. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, same wrestling. Goodbye.
遊びすぎに注意しましょう。
今度はバスケ部やらせて。